Right, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. We are here with Maria Tibblin, who has had a phenomenal journey. And I think I've given you all some tasters in the sort of pre-promotion to the event. But it's an incredible honor to be here with you today, Maria. We're talking to Maria as part of our WomenLed Wonder series, which is an opportunity for us as the women's chapter to really get under the skin of our members' businesses, understand their journeys, and give them an opportunity to share their insights and their learning and inspiration with others. Just a reminder to everyone, please keep your microphones on mute. It was actually set that everyone would come in with microphones on mute, so please do to minimize background noise. I've also spotlighted Maria so that if for any reason my connection drops off, she will carry on chatting to you and I will come back. This is the world we live in today, where we have to safeguard against unstable Wi-Fi connections. But we are going to have a really engaging chat today. If you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box, and I'll either integrate your questions as we go along, or there will be plenty of time for questions at the end. So without further ado, a very warm welcome again to you, Maria. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us today. I would like to start off with, because you've had a very colorful, varied career that brought you to the point that you're at now. Would you mind just giving us a little snapshot of your journey and how you got to where you are now?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor, and it's really a great pleasure to be here and meet everyone. I'm very happy to tell you a little bit about my story. So being a Scandinavian, I was born and raised in Sweden, and my first profession was a surgical ER nurse. And why I chose that profession probably was because I love the excitement, I love the humanistic part of it and the caring part of it, and also the international possibilities that it could bring me. So it also took, and so I worked as a nurse, and then I quite fast moved into the Swiss Federal Health Department, being the communication manager and nurse preventing HIV and AIDS in the early 90s, which was quite an exciting and also scary journey to do, because nobody knew so much about that horrific disease at the time. I then continued to study, and I took a master in public health and health economics at the university in Switzerland, in Zurich and Basel. And that took me then to various tasks, professions, and jobs within the pharmaceutical, the medical research, and the preventive health organizations, which I enjoyed very much. Then my private situation made a quick turn when my husband suddenly passed away, leaving me with two small children, 2.5 and 4 years old.
Wow.
And that was a big change in my life.
Wow. And Maria, I mean, you know, I think when something like that happens in your life, I mean, it can either go one or two ways. You can sort of really want to stick with what you know and keep everything around you the same and stable. But in your case, it really was the impetus for a massive change in your life, not only personally, but professionally too. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it was. So I'd been living abroad for almost 20 years when that happened. And I decided to move back to Sweden, which was not easy after so many years. So I was on that I made. And with my two young daughters, I kind of, and I worked for a big pharmaceutical company at the time. And I just felt this is not sustainable, being a single mother with two young daughters, working 24/7 and traveling a lot. And so I reflected and thought, I need to do something that I really love, and that's also sustainable with my family life. Also during this time, of course, I was healing me, I was healing my daughters, and healing my family. And for me, it was not, people say, okay, I moved on. But for me, it was not really to move on. No, it was to create something new. Because life was not the same anymore. So yeah, it was about worked on myself, and I reflected how I wanted to make a new life for me and for my daughter, for all of us. And during that time, it was quite, and I came back to Sweden. I would like to say that all, not all, but bad things can also have very good things. I came back to Sweden, to my roots, where I haven't lived for 20 years. And that also helped me to find me back to me, you know, to my roots, to my truth. And that was very helpful then to also find out, what do I really want to do? So that was like kind of part of the journey in a way, to being back. Yeah, I started to work and reflect. And I have always been a creative person. I have always loved all beautiful things in life, for all our senses: music, art, design, nature. And I also have a family heritage in famous glass design. So probably it must be something in my genes, or yeah, how you say it. But so I thought that I probably will do something creative. So that was the first, kind of to feel it within me. That was the first step towards something else.
And Maria, did you worry at any point that you would struggle to get people to take you seriously when you wanted to make a career change, you know, and you know, move to a new city, set up a new life, and start a new career, which was, you know, seemingly very different from what you'd done before?
Yeah, that was not easy. And, you know, also not being 25 anymore to do that change. And since I have science and competence and research is so important to prove yourself. So, and design is not a scientific profession. So of course that was a little bit scary. Yes. But I wanted to say that what took me then, also I would like to say that took me to London, was that I decided that I wanted to make a fresh start, and I've always wanted to live in a big city. And I decided to go to London for myself and for my daughters. So we actually moved here. And when I moved here, I asked for a little bit of help. So I had a life coach to help me really to find the right thing for me. She was helping me to help myself, let's say it that way. Mm. And it was so on the surface, yes, I could just, you know, I could just take, well, it was right there, but it just needed someone to design it is. And I started to study interior design here in London. Yes, it was not so easy to start from fresh, something totally new. I didn't know the industry, but I knew in a way what I needed to learn. So that was one thing that I really knew. What can I, what talent do I have, but what do I need to learn? So I kind of knew what I had to take with me from that course.
And part of that was that you had to do an internship, right? And I mean, I think what's fascinating about this is that you had to go back to the real beginning. And I think when we had our pre-conversation about this, you were telling me that, you know, sometimes that internship involved going to the post office and doing kind of, you know, fairly basic tasks like that. But you did them. So, you know, what did that experience teach you?
Yes, I would say that, yeah, that was not always so easy. But like you said, you know, you have to be humble. This was a new world for me. So I kind of, you know, that's okay. I can do that. But like I told you before, that I really knew what I needed to learn. So I looked at it quite positively and tried to connect and learn what I could in those months. Yes.
So, I mean, your advice
well, I was new, of course. They
Yeah.
still are, of course.
So your advice to a woman who might be considering making a change in her career now, what would that be? I mean, whether that be starting a business or leaving a job that they don't love anymore. I mean, what would you say to the women in the room that might be feeling that way?
Yes, I would say the first thing I would say, it's your life and live it now. And if you don't love what you're doing right now, try to find something that you really would like to do and not stay too long in something that's not good. And ask for help. If it's possible financially, have a coach to just coach you a little bit on that journey. Um, and really, design your own life. This is it. I remember my mother told me when I was a teenager, and it followed me because then I was dreaming about all these big things. Of course, you should have big dreams, but it has to be also some kind of reality. And she told me, Maria, this is life right now. And when I reflect on that, I still remember her saying that, and that's really true. This is it, and it's yours. And don't be afraid to. I don't like to say fail because I don't see it's. I think see that paths in lives in your journey, and so it's not failure. It's maybe try and error a little bit. And if you don't try, it will. Many people have said that, but it's really true. And then your journey is never straight. And I also see that so clearly, journey left and right, up and down. But now, in the age that I am now, it's coming all together. And I sometimes can say, wow, wow.
You also
Now I get it, why I had to go.
Yeah, you also really value networking, don't you? I mean, being part of communities and I mean, I know you have a philosophy around this. Would you like to share with us kind of why networking is so important to you and the growth of your business?
Yes. So I've always been actually a shy person in my core. I'm quite shy, but I'm interested in other people, and I like to listen to other people because I like to learn. I'm eager to learn new, and so I've always believed in networking, and also to care for the people that I've met and keep in contact. So my black little book is quite long. It's not just with names. It's some small notes. It's also to reconnect. And how interesting that is that after many, many years, now I see it, that I can reconnect with someone, but that we can work together anyway on, within my business. It's so interesting. And so, yes, definitely network, open doors, even if you see a person, if someone asks you, maybe think, well, why? We're not working in the same area. Don't close that door. Meet that person, maybe just once. Maybe it will be nothing for you, but maybe when you get to know that person, there is something that really can be valuable for you and for them. And I've got a big business like that, a project just like that, because that person, or I didn't see it in the beginning, but then it turned out. When I started this business, I had a banker friend, and yeah, he told me about a little bit about his clients, with integrity, of course. And I just said, you know what? Can I talk a little bit to your clients about integrity? They were having really wealthy people that they were helping to invest, and they were also investing in real estate. And then I saw the link that these people, of course, then would maybe need to refurbish their properties. So I said, why don't I come to, he was in Luxembourg, why don't I come to Luxembourg and talk to some of your colleagues? And they were like, my God, why should we listen to an interior designer? But 10 people in suit and tie, and I brought fabrics, and I brought, they could feel it, and wow, it's that a wall cover? Never seen anything like that. And they had clients that needed to refurbish or needed help to find a property somewhere. So it just, evolved like that because I looked a little bit beyond.
Well, and
It's
that's
fun.
connecting the dots, isn't it? And also taking what you do outside of the sort of typical sphere that people would expect to find it in, because as you quite rightly said, those people all have homes, and many of them, if they were clients, they would have business premises, where you could give them a little bit of inspiration and a change of scenery, I guess. But one of the other things that I loved about what you were telling me, and this relates back to your experience of really nurturing and maintaining your contacts over the years, was when you were working at Ralph Lauren. I mean, that was very much the springboard for your career.
Yes, it was. And I was working there with private clients in the design department and the home design department. And I was there only 1 year, but I learned so much. I learned from merchandising, and I learned, of course, the brand very much, which I like. But the thing was, all the people and the clients that came there, was a great value to me. I made even my architectural designer is my business partner now. So, and he was working with some of the clients that I was working with. We started to collaborate. So definitely all the contact that I made there has been very valuable to me. And I also knew when not to stay too long, because when I've learned what I needed to learn, I actually decided to start my own business.
And
so it was a good one.
There's an interesting story related to that as well, and I think again might be of interest to some people in the room. It was about taking on a business partner, not your current business partner, and what you learned from that experience. Can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I was introduced to a really lovely lady who is an interior designer, and we decided to join forces and have a mutual company together, which was really, during that journey, I was more responsible for our business development and where should we head at, where was our mission with this company. And during that time, when we were writing, handbooks and business development documents and all that, I also made my own simultaneously own journey. I just had to somehow. It just goes hand in hand. And I then felt that what I would like to work with is sustainable and ethical suppliers. I would like to, my style is quite Scandinavian, but with influences from Europe, since I've lived abroad for so long. I would definitely like to emphasize on all our 5 senses. So that kind of was my own journey within our business journey. And we then, after a year and a half, realized that we probably will go different ways. It was no harm in that, but it evolved during that journey together that we should not work in the same company. And but we terminated on speaking terms, so it's all good. And the designer that we had hired is still with me now, which I'm very, very grateful for. So yes, I think it's okay to be open to start a business with someone else and then realize, no, this is actually not really what I would like to do, or the journey that I would like to go. And it's okay. People always ask, are you going to do that now for 10 years? Well, I don't know, because you meet people and you change and you evolve and you learn. And I think that's okay. You cannot be static.
I think that's wonderful advice, Maria, because I think there are many people who deliberate over whether or not they should take on a business partner, and the kind of, I suppose, whether or not, if it doesn't work out, what the fallout of that will be. And I think your approach has been really refreshing. I mean, I think for a lot of people it doesn't always work out that way, that it's amicable. But would you advise somebody who is growing a business to consider taking on a business partner? Has that been a positive step, or in terms of the growth of your business?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it sometimes, of course, because being alone is being alone. But I have the two people that I now have very close to me in my business are very close to me, and we learn from each other. I also have a business coach, which is Julia Elliott Brown, which I'm really grateful for, and that helps me, because sometimes, of course, when you're alone, you feel alone. You absolutely have the responsibility yourself. That's it. So I mean, maybe for some people it would be good to be with a business partner. I don't want to say that, you know, the one is right and the other one is not. But I think for me, if I dare to say that, I think that I would probably stay as my own business partner, but I'm surrounding myself with excellent expertise and humans, and with whom I could not do this work. I mean, definitely not. You cannot do it alone. But I believe in consultancy, and since this business is also about project, it can go up and down. You can have more than one or two or three projects, and then it can be a slower period. So also financially, it's maybe secure to work with consultants for the time being. For me, that's the way to go for the time being. Yeah. We will see.
I think that's a really good piece of advice, and interestingly, it's something that comes up a lot with the women's chapter members, who really talk about, you know, the key to success of their business and maintaining their growth and pace is about surrounding yourself with good people, whether they're employees or they're consultants or whatever form that takes. But, you know, really seeking out and finding good talent who can support you along your journey, which is also one of the most challenging things.
Yeah, and sorry, I interrupted you, but I wanted to say also to delegate, to outsource, and to do. So I feel I want to do, and I should do what I'm good at, and what I'm not so good at, I should delegate to others that are better at that, and so I can focus on my core. That I think is also important, that you should not do everything yourself, and you cannot be best at everything. And so, for example, my designer that works very close with me, she's an excellent technical. She does all my drawings, and because she is better than I in doing that, just the way it is. So that's just one part. So I really believe in that to delegate, to share and outsource, and then focus on what you're good at and what you love.
And Maria, the change that you made from doing, you know, being an interior designer and working with people in their homes to then working in corporate spaces, how did that come about?
I lost you there. I didn't hear your question. Could you repeat? I didn't really hear your question. I lost you.
Yeah, the internet keeps coming in and out. The change that you made from working with people around the design in their homes to then working more with corporate spaces and with corporate clients, how did that come about?
Yeah, that was quite an interesting journey as well in itself. So I started out with residential, that most designers do, I suppose. But since my background is quite corporate, and I've been working globally, internationally with you know, within big industries, it feels quite easy for me to work business to business. And so I had a private client once who wanted to turn a big property into a hotel, and I went with him to a big event, a European event for hospitality, to help him. And then while walking around there and being there, I thought, oh, I wonder what it takes to be one of the designers to set up one of these suites. So for the next year's event, I contacted the director, Mark Gordon, and asked him, you know, what does it take to do one of the suites? And he interviewed me, and I had to make a proposal and a concept and a pitch. And actually, being honest to him, that I haven't done any hotel before, he took me on, and I was the only designer who hadn't worked within hospitality before. But for me, this was the entrance, and it gave me such a kick. And I was able to create like a junior suite with bathroom and living and bedroom, and I could make that my whole concept, what I believe in, almost being fully sustainable, and picking the suppliers and the team that I really, well, not the entire supply chain, but that I tried to learn about. And my Italian counterpart, who made a mix out of Scandinavian Italian design, which harmonizes so well. It's really like yin and yang. And that was my platform to hospitality. And I cannot be grateful enough, because it was a lot of press around it. People were standing queue coming into our suite, and yeah, it was amazing. But I actually was so scared because, you know, this was the first time, and you look at all the other designers that have been designing hotels all over the world. But actually, it was a success. And that was my start, believing in that this is what I'm going to do. Yeah.
But I think that's such a wonderful lesson to all of us, to put ourselves out there and to ask. Because if you hadn't contacted the director of the show and asked to be involved, none of that would have happened, you know. And I think so many of us, and women particularly, are quite guilty of this, aren't we? Where we feel we need to be the most qualified or the most experienced in order to put ourselves forward for something. And I think your story is really kind of evidence of just asking, sticking your hand up and saying, you know, and it's obviously clearly worked out very well for you. Can you tell us about the kinds of projects that you're working on now?
Yeah, now I then also, during last year, when I worked with my coach, we were talking a little bit about, you know, I tried to emphasize on, you know, my medical experience, and I wanted to bring that in, you know, the health and well-being in the design. I remember that she said a little bit that, you know, maybe focus on one thing, but we still kept it in my mission and in my values and all that. And then I was approached by someone who wanted to do refurbish a medical clinic, and from that grew this. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is definitely, my background is quite unique, and I have to interrupt, because I found a note not so long ago that I wrote for myself. I write quite a lot. I journal, you know, and I wrote that for myself, that my wish was to raise awareness about the atmosphere and the spaces around us, how that makes us feel. And I just read it not so long ago, and I thought that is really true to me today as well as it was then. And I really believe, that is really my belief, that spaces does matters how we feel. And it can make you sick, and it can make you improve your well-being. That's my belief, really. So when this investor approached me to make some, well, actually, he didn't want to make the whole refurb. First, he was talking about just to make some minor job. But when I came there and saw this premises and the big investment that they've done in technical devices, I just thought, you know, we really need to do the whole thing. And so I turned in this clinic into the awareness to the staff to believe in, if you're working with health and well-being and beauty and on a medical basis, it has to breathe in the space as well as the staff. So I made them aware of the materials that we should use in a space like this, so the air quality, and we even rebranded, and it will now soon be finalized and installed in 2 weeks actually. And so I think, for me, what I'm mostly proud of for this project is that I raised awareness to the investor and the CEO. and they are on the journey now, full on. And that is for me the greatest pleasure.
That's such an important part of, I mean, you know, taking that holistic approach, I think is really wonderful, because you were telling me it even extended to what sorts of refreshments they were serving in the waiting room, and really thinking that, you know, about how everything paid into what they stood for and what their purpose was and how they wanted to serve their clients. Which is I think you know, it's great that you had a client that was open
and
to
this
that.
Was nothing that, yes, I'm really grateful, and it was many hours of discussion before we actually signed the contract, but they are extremely excited and happy now, and so am I. And this has made me what shall I say, I feel now very sure that where I'm heading and what I'm doing is really what I should do. And I have now 2 new medical and health clinics that have approached me. One is similar, and another one is very much a medical clinic. And then also one hospitality project. So it's like I'm flying. It's wonderful, if I may say.
And that's such refreshing news to hear, considering the challenging times that we're living in now.
I'm happy.
But also, I know in terms of COVID,
you know, I just want to say, I just want to say one thing. I don't want to be too superficial, but I have worked so hard. I can tell you, I've worked 24/7 the past. People are saying, "My God," but it's like, you know, don't give up. It will come there if you really believe in it. But you know, this has been a long journey, and it's taken a long time. So grit and resilience is really, you know.
Well, I think that's a great time for me to ask a question around, you know, in obviously personally and professionally, you've faced challenges, you've overcome them. What's in your toolkit, or what is your advice to others around how to face challenge?
Yes, what I do, I journal, like I mentioned a lot. I think when I write something down, I usually find the answer. It's like this process of taking the pen and writing something down. I usually find the answer in that. Talk to people, and if it's possible to have a coach, I think that's good. Surround yourself with good people. Only work with people that you like. I think that's important. And you know, people come and go in your life, and some people are there to stay, and some let go of them. That's all right. Yeah, ask me more. I forgot.
No, that's great. Thank you. Well, I think I heard once, in fact, it was from another woman in our community, about never work with anyone that you don't want to go to dinner with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because
yeah, no, that's really true.
Yeah, whether or not they're clients or they're people that you employ or that you pay for their services, you do really have to like them and get on with them, because ultimately you're going to be spending a fair amount of time together.
Yeah. That's true.
So I know that you were talking about, you know, obviously things business-wise for you are really positive at the moment. Has COVID had an impact, or how have you used this COVID time in terms of your business?
So of course, I think for everyone, COVID has had an impact, good and bad, I would say. If we start with the good ones, I would say is that it had given me some time to really reflect on what I want to do and if it's right. Particularly for this project, it has been good because the business was actually closed. So I was quite, it was easier for me to work. Otherwise, I would have been able to work on a much tighter time schedule. So we have been more free to do that. What's been difficult is in terms of work, I have not been able to meet my colleagues, my partners in person. which I think is something that's very important when you do work together. So that has been a little bit difficult. So we've had, meetings like this, Zoom, of course, like everybody else. And also deliveries and supplying, also not only COVID, but also now Brexit, which is not so easy. And of course, then also people around you that personally have suffered, that can have an impact on you as well, indirect.
Yeah.
But in terms of business, it has been good for me.
And
actually, very good for me. And I think now people are sensibilized due to COVID about health and well-being.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's a great positive, isn't it? Because, in terms of your purpose and your brand, that allows you to really, talk, I guess, to people where they understand the implications of why it's so important to design a space that takes our wellness and our health into consideration. So,
And with that, I would like to say the importance of not only to design now in terms of COVID, how we redesign hospitality spaces or clinics or medical clinics or even homes. I think we have to also be aware of, okay, there we talk about flow, we talk about hygiene, but the really important thing is that the staff are with us, that they understand why we should have this flow or why we should have these procedures. We should not forget as designers to really incorporate the staff, the understanding why and the awareness. Because then if you understand that, then and know why you're doing it, then you will do it right. And then you can also persuade and explain to clients or customers why you're doing it, why we have these designs in place or these rules in place. I think that's something that we really need to focus on.
yeah.
Collaborate that way.
I know that sustainability is really important to you. Can you tell us how you are incorporating sustainable practices into your business?
Yes. So I came in contact with a fantastic organization called Positive Luxury a couple of years ago. I don't really know how, if I read about them probably, and I contacted them. This was probably 3 years ago. And I thought that they were, it's a great brand, that they're raising awareness among luxury brands, so that they are, the way they work is good for the environment. And it was a little bit too early for me to join, but I connected with them again about a year ago, or short, or maybe half a year ago. And that was a good time because now I'm there where I am in my business, and I'm in the process now to receive the butterfly mark. There's a lot of systems that should be in place in my business to be able to receive that honorable reward. But I'm working very closely with them, and it's on governance basis, it's on materials, suppliers, supply chain. And for me, this is really, really important. And what's interesting was that when I had, I think, the second session with my manager coach there who helps me, I realized that I am already doing a lot of what they are, what do you say, I kind of recognize, but I don't have it in a system. So that's what I need to do. So it's in my beliefs, it's in my values, in my mission, but I have to then systematically put it in place. And it's great to be a part of that community. And I would really like to do my part of it. And yeah, so I already work with suppliers that are ethical and sustainable. Not 100%, but I'm trying to. I'm working on it as much as I can.
No, and I'm delighted you're working with Positive Luxury. I know Diana well, and we work a lot and collaborate. In fact, Diana's speaking at an event for us next week around women in sustainability, and we're going to be talking about sustainable practices and how all of us as individuals can be thinking about how we can incorporate sustainable practices into our business. There's no kind of complete solution, is there? But it's something that we can all be constantly working towards. So yeah, it's wonderful that you're working with them already. I think I'm going to hand over to questions, actually. If there's anyone that would like to pop some questions into the chat, we've got a few minutes left. I've got some questions that I've held back as well. So if there aren't any, I can move on and ask mine, but we'd lovely to hear from some of the people in the room. There are some comments in the chat. Kendra's saying that she loves that your journey is never straight. And yeah, she just says that's such a wonderful insight that you shared with everyone. And Susan's talking about the importance of using a coach. She's a coach herself, and she totally understands how it's important to align with your values. Does anyone else have any questions they'd like to pop into the chat? Otherwise, go ahead and do so. And I've got a couple of other questions for Maria, which we can then come back to yours just before we wrap up. So Maria, I know that you've prepared for these, but I would love you to share. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, just to kind of give everyone sort of some other insights into your life and your business journey. So I'll ask you them quickly. Who or what inspires you?
First of all, my two daughters every day inspires me. And also every day, people I meet, I talk to, can inspire me and move me. And then music and nature, definitely, always.
Thank you. And your biggest fear?
I would say not to have time to do all the purpose that I would like, that I have in my life, to live it full and long, and to live my purpose.
Oh, and that's something that we're all becoming more and more aware of, isn't it? In the times that we're living in now, that, you know, we are mere mortals, and we've got to make the use of the time that we have. So I certainly think you have been doing so with your incredible journey. What about the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Oh, you know what, Michelle, I've done so many courageous things all through my life, and I think I'm still courageous, actually. I mean, just being here today is quite courageous, no?
Yeah. Well, and what do they say? Every day is a school day. We're always learning and pushing our boundaries. How about your guiltless pleasure?
Bread, sourdough bread. Yes, Friday is my bread day.
Sourdough bread. And do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, try to stay true to yourself and your virtues, and be kind. And I am grateful for every day. Every morning I'm grateful. I am grateful for life. I love life, even if it's been not easy. I love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Maria. So we have had a few people pop some questions in the chat. Olga's asking, can you give some tips on how to incorporate sustainable design into our homes?
Yes, I would like to. Yes, a broad one, but I would always like to when you find your suppliers, to ask them where the materials are from, what kind of materials it is. With paint, the same. I would also like to say, okay, now I'm going more into air quality, bring in some greens, but definitely get to know the suppliers that you're purchasing from as much as you can.
And Dina's asking, sustainability seems to be on the up, but is it really a determining factor when you're winning business, or is it more of a buzz, kind of a trend, I guess? I mean, is it important when you win business? Has that been one of the key factors that people have chosen you for?
No, I don't think it's a key. It's the holistic view of it. It's definitely, yes. I think nowadays sustainability is something that everybody, try to work with and around. So it's not the key, but it's definitely always something we talk about. And I think it's more that, the people that or when I'm winning the business, is that I make them aware of it. And I would say until now, everybody agrees.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Julia is asking, how do you go about finding these sustainable suppliers for your products? Is there a resource that you go to when you're looking for suppliers?
Oh, so I don't have to work with, I get to know. So yeah, I really get to know them. And then I also look into their supply chain and their paper. So that's what I'm now working with positive luxury, which is really good, to help me to put these procedures in place, to have a checklist. Now it's more that I talk to them, I see where they get their materials from, how they dye water, how they use the water. But now I would like to have the systems in place and a checklist. But the suppliers that I work with now, there are not that many, so I really know them very well. But moving on forward, I need to have this checklist to really, maybe even deny a supplier and find someone else.
Yeah. And Julia has also just asked, do you feel that there's a greater understanding or need from your clients around sustainable design? Is this something they're asking for, or do you feel that it's still something you're educating your clients around?
I've had a few clients who asked for it, but that was minor things that, for example, soap in the bathroom or more such items. Otherwise, I feel, this is personally, I feel that I am educating them and inspiring them.
Brilliant. Well, Maria, that's brought us to the end of our interview today. It's been an absolute privilege to chat to you and to hear your story firsthand and all of your wonderful experiences. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning and making time to be here. This has been recorded, so I'll be sharing the link with you all once I've edited it a little bit. We'll add a nice slide in the front for Maria. And also, Maria, if there's anything that you would like me to share with everyone in the follow-up email to this, let me know and we can send that over to everyone. There may well also be people who had questions they wanted to ask and didn't want to ask them in this forum. So hopefully you'll be, open to answering those. But again, a very, very, very big thank you to you for your time and for sharing all of your insights and expertise with us today. I'm really looking forward to following your journey. And we will see everyone. If you would like to join us, we're running another event next week, which is Women in Sustainability, which is with Diana, who's the co-founder of Positive Luxury, and with James Shepherdson, who was the former CEO of Whistles and who now sits as the chair for My Wardrobe HQ, which is a rental fashion platform. So we're going to be talking about more sustainability practices next week. So I hope all of you will join us. But thank you very much, Maria. Wishing you a wonderful day. There's plenty of sunshine outside, so I hope you're going to go and absorb some of that and enjoy it today. And we hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a happy day, everyone. Bye.